Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. It may interest you to know I'm Toni Marcolini, and today I have two guests with me, which is exciting. One, a good friend of mine, Samantha Jones, improv genius. Uh, I can't say enough good things about her. Actress, former comedian from many, many years ago, and just an all-around good egg. She's here to join me as a co-host. I guess you could say co-host and just here to chat.
Gator, maybe.
Cause a little trouble and mayhem.
Yes.
Uh, and I'm interviewing, which I'm super excited about, a director named Michael Schiralli. I got it right. Am I
You
right?
got it right.
I
There's more that I
practiced
can say
only
about
once.
most people.
We should say I practiced only once before we started recording. So like applause should be happening all around. I did get it. Okay.
You did. You did.
Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Toni. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Michael.
How are
Yay,
you?
good. Here we are.
It's nice to be here. And it's nice to finally meet you, Toni,
Yeah, same. I mean, I think we
almost in
talked about
person.
we talked about that we had spoken on the phone a long time ago, and of course, we've communicated here or there. Both mostly heard about each other through Sam, who's a mutual friend, uh, and she says good things about you, and I'm sure she says things that are passable about me. And so we know the name, so it's nice to finally get together. And I want to get into your directing of these shows, and I'm excited to talk about it. But before I do, I hear you guys had a big night last night.
We did. I directed this web series, a dramedy web series by a very good friend of mine and collaborator for many, many years called Jeff Tarson, and Samantha was in it, and we were up for the New Jersey Web Fest festival last night. It was the gala performance for Best Dramedy Web Series, and Samantha was up for Best Supporting Actress in a Dramedy, and we all won.
Yeah.
And it was a great New Jersey blowout gala, right? Loud music, lots of food, lots of fun people. We had the best time. That's why I'm bleary-eyed, literally. And Jeff spent the night last night, Sam, and we
Yeah.
didn't go to bed till 2 a.m. So
Oh, I'm sure you
not
were
that
talking
that's so late.
forever.
Oh, forever. But we were so glad to win. We believe in the project so much. Sam was just incredible as always. I mean, I would do anything with Samantha Jones ever.
Ditto.
And she just delivered and killed it. And we went there thinking, maybe they kind of just want us all to show up. Like we didn't really know what it was. And it was one of the best nights, wasn't it, Sam? And
Exciting.
and what was incredible about the whole event was everybody there kept saying how this is the best web series, a web fest ever. And we were thinking, oh, it's kind of fun. And maybe it is. By the end of it, we were like, I felt so codependent with all of them. And I just love them all, right?
Yeah.
And one of the best, it really, really, New Jersey brought it home. And one of the best phrases of the night was, "Don't wait, create." And I just thought it was amazing to hear that. You know what I mean? And I just loved it, and it stayed with me all day. And I kind of live by that mantra.
Let me
It
say
really was.
congratulations. Congratulations to
Thank
both
you.
of you, first and
Thank
foremost.
you. Thank you.
And I love the idea that you're getting acknowledged for creating, right? So because creativity is the focus of the podcast. I love to talk to people, and see your dog agrees with me.
Yeah, he's creating right now. Creating Taurus for me on Yom Kippur.
I'll bet.
Yes.
So, I mean, I love to focus on how people create. I love to talk to creative people and know, what is your process? How do you make this kind of thing happen? I mean, I get that the world I think they put a lot of attention and merit on science, which is of course important and has its place. But I also think creativity, it takes many forms, and not just creating, a cure, which of course is of monumental importance, but I mean, not just creating things in science, but creating things that come out of our brain and aesthetically pleasing, right? Whether
Correct.
it be a photograph, a painting,
Yep.
getting to watch the opera or a Broadway show or a movie, they all perform, to not only reach us, to help us emote, right, which is supposedly the purpose of all art, but I think it performs a valuable function in society, because there are a lot of people and you don't know, you reach your audience where they are in their life, right? And you don't know where they are. Some people are going through cancer, having their homes foreclosed upon, or just in really bad places. Maybe they're in the middle of a divorce, and that ability to escape, whether it's into a book or a movie or a show, uh, it provides a little bit of joy in that person's life, and sometimes gets them through what is a really bad time. I mean, Shelley Fabre was on the podcast not that long ago, and we were talking about the fact that, because I went through cancer and she went through a health
Mm.
crisis, and she said waiting for Johnny Carson at the end of the day. Like Johnny, that show, like that's what got her through the day. Like soon the day will be over and I'll be sitting with Johnny,
Right,
watching
right,
him. And
right.
that got her through her day. And I said, likewise, there were so many moments where throwing myself, I used to watch, I was going through my cancer journey. I used to watch the Everybody Loves Raymond. I had the whole nine seconds. And I'd sit and
Wow.
I'd put on
Yeah.
the Everybody Loves Raymond and watch it,
That's
and
great.
really jump into that. And if I was really feeling blue, I turned to Hallmark, right? You had to put on a really happy Hallmark movie to be
Yeah.
reminded that somewhere in the world there's joy, because otherwise
Yeah.
you're, when you're in that situation, you're feeling very distraught. So I feel like it's really a worthy task, uh, to look at people who create and say, "Wow, one, thank you for creating, and two, let's talk about it. How do you create? What's your process?" So I'm going to put that to you. What's your process?
Well, I've been really lucky that I created since I was a little kid. All I ever wanted to do was make things. Um, I made a theater in my basement. For my communion, I bought a movie projector and a camera, a Super 8 camera, and I would make my little movies. I would sync them up to music or do family things, and then I would show them in the basement. My mom took me to Radio City since I was a little kid, and I was very lucky. I had uncles who took me to the theater, to opera, to ballet. My dad was extremely into opera. Uh, and being Italian and from Brooklyn, I learned at an early age that I was attracted to drama and the comedy that comes out of reality. And
Mm.
and the characters that would come over to the house, I would just watch them. And I had my Aunt Mary, who was such a fascinating person to me. She was in a 38-year marriage and then was unceremoniously found out that the husband had been cheating, and my Uncle Al had been cheating on her, and she kind of had a breakdown. And she used to come over, and I used to uh, sort of film her and talk to her and interview her, and I kind of took her out of her, funk. And
Mm.
I was always doing that. And I was always attracted to these bizarre characters. And I sort of grew up in a Neil Simon meets Hotel New Hampshire kind of house of you never knew who was here and what was happening. It was always edgy and but always so creative and so full of life that I just always wanted to create and document, almost Fellini-esque. I just was so attracted to it. And I'd want to create on any level. Cooking with my parents seemed artistic. My dad was a fine artist as well, and he would paint. So I was always, gravitated toward that. I was a really good photographer since I was little, and I would develop the pictures in the basement right next to the little theater I made, my Radio City downstairs. I was kind of like a Ziegfeld sort of Renaissance person, but really what I realized was I could bring people out of their pain or depression. And because I was funny, or I just saw, being an Italian going to these wake Italian funerals and wakes. I mean, what's more theatrical,
Absolutely nothing.
Right? Nothing. I mean, the stage management of the Catholic Church, I was an altar boy, just, when the bells ring, when the hands go, it was all so theatrical to me. And funerals with that kind of emotion. And then there would always be this hilarity right next to the emotion. I'd like.
Well, there's always drama.
Correct. Always drama and usually some, unintentional comedy as well, which.
I mean, I don't know how other nationalities do it, Sam. I'll throw that over to you, I guess. But
well, Irish is
we
different.
We do it
It's
with
very
a lot of
different.
drama.
Yeah, a lot of drama. A lot of drama.
Well, the Irish have a lot of drama too, but it's usually alcohol induced.
Yeah, that's right.
Lots
So
of
funerals are not
passionate
necessary.
honesty.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot to add to the whole funeral mix, but yeah.
I mean, but it was where it's where I sort of became alive in it. You know what I mean? And it was always based in humanity. So it wasn't just, I want to be a star. I want to be that person on the screen. I was seeing creativity and drama like a true Italian and the opera of life. Do you know what I mean? It didn't have to be. And on a stage or with somebody in a film, even though I was extremely attracted to films and filmmaking and, old movies. And my parents were like the best people in the world. And they would, if they were arguing about anything stupid and a good song came on the radio, they would stop and they would get up and Lindy. Do you know what I mean? They would just dance at the table. And there was that kind of,
This
like
I love.
Zorba the Greek, let's live, let's dance, let's yell, and then let's eat. You know what I mean? that always seemed like a show to me. It just seemed
Like nothing can't be solved. Nothing can't be solved, right? I mean, every problem
correct.
could be solved, if you bring out some cannoli.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
like you were saying before about watching the Johnny Carson, you feel sort of like nothing bad can happen while this is happening. So maybe chemotherapy was horrible 4 hours earlier, but for this half hour, I am in a place that seems untouchable by any gloom or doom or something, and so I realized the power of that. I realized the medicine of that, I guess, at a very young age. Thank God I did, because I sort of, all I want to do is create. And that's why last night when that person said, don't wait, create, it sort of just made me feel like this is the reason we're here tonight, last night, in Bloomfield, New Jersey, or wherever we were, Montclair.
Bloomfield.
Bloomfield, thank you. Montclair sounds better, but I think it was Bloomfield. But seriously, and everybody there seemed to be in that same mindset of just, and anytime I've been with Sam, all we want to do is create together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so, there's nothing frightening about it. There's never a wrong idea. It's exactly what improv should, the concept of yes, but we both mean it with each other. Because I feel like my mom always used to say that if I was panicked, because I used to act, if I was panicked about an audition or something, she'd go, these are the good things in life. These aren't the bad things. You're good. You know what I mean? You get to act. You're going in. Who cares? So I always think it's not like you're going for a horrible treatment or a horrible operation or burying somebody or telling somebody something or, so whatever happens, it's gravy. We're getting to do something.
Yes.
And the problem, but most creativity has this, oh my God, but if I fail, or if I don't get, the agent didn't like it, or somebody else is submitting, or somebody's going for this, and that sort of is like, it just kills it, it like screws up the high mass. It just takes the joy out of it. And I always feel like creativity is coming from somewhere else, almost like a psychic feels. So I just want to be open to that. And
well, sure, I think you have to be present in the moment, right? If you get too much in your own head, as to how other people are perceiving you, I think you'd never be able to create
at all. But a lot of people live in that terror. I know a lot of talented people who just live in that constant second guessing, and it sort of makes it so unenjoyable. Like you just don't want to do it. It's like a root canal that you have to do, but I don't know.
Now you've directed Sam many times.
Many times.
Uh,
Yes, many times.
And so I have to know, because Sam is an absolute hot potato, right?
Mhm.
Because of her years in specializing in improv, she
Mhm.
could do anything. I mean, right now you could tell her, be a giraffe chasing a duck, and she
Mhm.
would nail it. Right.
Always.
I hope so.
So I have to know, like, how do you direct somebody who is uh, um, that hot potato, that,
Well,
Robin
I am
Williams, you know what I mean? You never know what they're going to
attracted to
do.
that. I like that. And I have a big improv background myself. So I love everything to me comes from that. There's so many possibilities. It's different when you're trying to direct someone else because you know it yourself. But then if I'm trying to get you to do something, some people are afraid of it. But the minute I started working with Sam, who came so highly recommended and revered, and everybody wanted Sam to be in their play, that I was artistic director of the theater up in Poughkeepsie at the Culinary Institute called Half Moon Theater. And everybody wanted Sam to be in their thing. And Sam was always would almost be available, and then she would book something and not be available. And I always felt, well, maybe she doesn't really want to do this. Maybe she's above it or something. And the first time we worked together, I was like, this person I will always, we're gonna have a lifelong creative relationship, besides a true friendship as well. So I like working with strong, talented people. They don't intimidate me, at all. I work with a lot of other strong, talented people because I'm kind of a strong person. And all I ever want to do, Toni, is make somebody look great. So it's usually not about my ego in something. I feel like I want to make whatever that person's skill is as fabulous as it can. Like a makeup artist is going to bring out the beauty in someone and help make things look better or hide the flaws maybe. Or so that's kind of a gift I think I have, that and maybe that's from my childhood as well with my Aunt Mary and trying to help these people out, somewhat.
Well,
So
Sam, what's it like to be directed by Michael?
Oh God, it's so great, Toni. Oh my God, I can't get enough of it. I mean, it was great. The first thing we worked on was Vanya and Sonia and Masha and Spike.
mhm.
And the great thing about him is he really understands how important a sense of place is. And he knows exactly how to create a stage where something happens. It's like the character of the stage, the character of the place is just as important as the characters in the play. And that's kind of what my background is just, walking the stage and being, and let me hold a glass and feel it. And this is the chair I always sat in. And the process, the process of the actor, he understands that. And so when you're working with him, it's this instant, it's as if you've known him forever. And it is so, and like what you're talking about is something you know so well instantly. And you can talk things out and flip it over and talk about the play, even just like the table read,
Mm.
discussing the words and why did she say this instead of this, and what's that relationship and that subtle thing, and just all of it. It's delicious. It's like eating a wonderful Italian meal. It's so much instantly. There's no uncomfortableness. And he really does. I mean, I've seen him work with so many different kinds of personalities in the plays we've done together, and now this web series, and he just directed my solo show. It's like, I can see him work with everybody, and everybody feels like Michael is their brother, like their best friend. So honored, so safe, it's just the best. It's the best.
So I have to know
Thanks,
then.
Sam.
Oh my God.
I'll give you the
Was there-
$20 later.
Yes.
I have to know, was there ever a moment where you creatively were on different pages, where one of you did something or said something and you're like, no, that's not at all how I see this. Like, and you had a combative version.
That's a great question. Oh,
Yeah, I've never had that with Sam at all. And what's interesting is because Sam's so strong and is always coming in And true improv and really good actors always do this. They're coming in with a strong intent and a strong take on something. And sometimes it's not what I think is going to be right for the ultimate thing. I still enjoy it. And then I'll be like, hey, Sam, but what about this? And it's never like, no, I rehearsed it this way. Or it's always like, oh, yeah, let's see that. You know what I mean? And then I'm inspired by her take, and then my take gets infused with her take. And that's like the best thing you can ever have.
Oh my God, best
That's the
ever.
best thing ever. That's all you want. And to me, table reads and sitting around delving into the play, like I love actors. I'm an actor myself. So I understand, the vulnerability and the truth is, Toni, there are so many options of the way something can be played. So to say this is the way it should be done to me is absurd. The only reason I would guide something in that way is because I'm trying to see the entirety of what I'm thinking and everybody else, and what I'm going to try to get everybody to come in this world, as Sam said, for the stage that I'm setting. So it's like I'm seeing the whole thing, and then I'm like, okay, Sam's colors here are going to pay off there if she just gets here later or starts here. You know what I mean? It's more about that.
Yeah. Oh, I can remember one time we were doing a play together, and for some reason, I cry in a lot of the plays that I do with
Which I love.
I don't know what that says.
It's like a deep sobbing, like the characters whenever they cry, And so I remember once we were doing a show together that was cul-de-sac, and I was crying. Right. And then Michael said, he said, not quite that far yet. He could conduct it. And then it was great because I pulled it back, and also just putting the cap on top of it instead of letting it all burst open, holding it, letting it simmer like that creates such a great moment in an acting scene.
Right. And it's like being a conductor of an orchestra and then having somebody who is such a good musician that they can hit it when you need them to hit it. Because that's the skill of acting too.
Yeah.
It's always not just what feels good or what I think is going to be. It's like some of it has to be technical, and it always has to be human, and it can change night to night because it shouldn't be like an automaton. But some things, like in musical theater, you have to hit a note at the right point. You know what I mean? You can't go flat on the note. You can't belt a note that should be soft or vice versa. So because it's music. And so I think of drama or comedy as music as well, and then when you're working with people who can do it, it's amazing.
I guess what I was thinking more. I've read books that I love, right? That I read the book, I love the book, and then somebody ultimately options it and makes a movie out of it. And then I go to, you go to the movie theater and you're like, wow. All right. Like they didn't play that character at all the way I read that character. Like the nuances that I felt like I was pulling out of what I was reading just weren't there in the performance. And so I guess that's more what I was thinking when I asked the question. Like, because I have to believe that the actress and the director and whoever else put that movie together, either one, didn't read the book, or two, read the book and decided, when they then, let's say, read the book, read the script, that they saw something that I didn't when they take that character in a completely different direction. And I think, had I been involved in that, I would have been like, no, like that doesn't feel genuine because that isn't my
your take on it,
interpretation or my take on it.
Right. Well, you would be that. You would have said that. I mean, and truthfully, if I feel something is that off, I always say it. But you are working with humans, that you sort of, you don't want to dictate for the sake of being a Gestapo and saying this is the way it should be. Like Fellini always said, you need to come in extremely prepared and see the whole thing and then be able to throw it out the minute you start rehearsing. Because somebody can come in and bring something that you didn't think. So in a book, you're hearing the voices, you're kind of the actor yourself, or you're imagining Meryl Streep, how she would do it, or, Laurence Olivier. You're pitting people from different parts of your life in this world. But now you've got to get other people to do it, right? So then it's a whole different thing. And maybe Sam's take on what I'm hearing wouldn't be good on Sam, but would be good on you.
Yeah.
if you were doing it. So you have to be open to that. And then to me, it's like the play is the thing, play the play. You have to make whatever's going to make the thing work or whatever gives you goosebumps, that's what you respond to. Finding it together. And film is tricky because the trick with filmmaking is very different than theater in that you have to film as much as you can grab, get everything as much, and then in editing, you could sort of tweak it to what you're hearing or seeing. But if you didn't grab it on the day you were at that set with those camera crews, you don't have it. You know what I mean? And a lot of it has to be more instant than you would in a play where it can breathe. You could hear it in front of an audience and then go back and give some notes to maybe fine tune it. Like in a film, it's extremely different, which was why this web series thing, we had no time. We were up against the wall. It had to be a little bit more instant. And, Sam came in with a different version of the character, which would have been great as well. But I like it needed to be an edgier version, a slightly scarier version than she was bringing it.
I'd be scared to death of Sam. If she was like playing that Kathy Bates, crazy role, I think she'd
Right,
pull it off really
right.
well. I'd be scared to death. I'd be like, okay,
Okay, whatever
all
you
good
want.
here.
Right, no misery. Yeah. But like maybe somebody else would have been freaked out because they were so determined to do what they had rehearsed, and not Sam. And that's the magic of creating. It goes back to that. Like if you don't have the freedom, it's like love. It's like loving somebody, or making love. It has to be organic. Or cooking should, cooking should be done with abandon. You don't want everything to be so precise that there's no joy in it. There's no
Well, that
life in
kind
it.
of creating is very collaborative, right?
Correct, which I love.
It's not like writing a book, right? You write a book, you sit down, it's you and your computer. That's, you've pretty much created everything yourself. But 3 cheers to editors who go out and fix that stuff. I'm not taking that away, but I'm saying for the most part, it's more independent. Whereas anytime you get to theater, or film in particular, it's very collaborative because it's not just the writer, right? It's not just the writer who puts that paper
That's right.
together. It's the actor who breathes life into it. It's the director who's your visual storyteller, right? Who weaves you through, and and the editor, right? Who ultimately takes all these different cuts and puts a story
And
together.
could make or
What is the
break it.
best? They can, what is the best scene or not, or best take on something, or what to put in, what to leave out. I mean, so I think that by the time you get to the end of that project, and I say this all the time, it has had so many hands in it, right? It's very collaborative. So you create this beautiful thing at the end, but much like a tree, it's not just the trunk, right? It's the leaves or maybe the berries that jump out. I mean, it's the totality of it that makes it look so pretty. And I think the same is true for film or even somewhat television shows, right? It's collaborative. It's had all these
Oh
hands,
God, yeah.
and the finished product that you look at has just, has had a
Right.
lot of
And sometimes it's to the detriment of the piece. Like you were saying, I
Oh,
heard
yeah.
it some way, and it could be destroyed by too many opinions, especially money people's opinions, because you have to acquiesce. And in sitcoms, the world of TV, I mean, I've shadow directed on a few, and the suits come in and they are cackling, over laughing, and trying to give a note, and the whole thing seems so void of any organic, real comedy. When you're doing it without big budgets and you're just in the trenches with people, like that's where the magic is. But in that other world, it's so easily destroyed because of that collaboration. True collaboration is great. But like Broadway, that big budget, everybody's afraid of failure. If we don't get the money quote from the Times, I've got a lot of dough in this show, so and so needs it to be this way. And I call it like the great whitewash way, because by that point, what was the original thing that you even loved about it? Sometimes it works and it gets better, but a lot of the times it's sort of watered down or sort of not what it originally. And maybe that's what you're responding to when you see a film or something and you read the book first and you're like, oh, why did it didn't have that thing that I heard. I don't
In
know.
fairness, I'm a bit of a book snob, right? So like I read the book and I'm I'm really into reading, right? I'm constantly reading. I constantly have 2 books going at the same time. Like,
Hmm.
and I treasure what I read. So, I mean, I read it, and when I fall in love with a book, I always say that's my litmus test if I find it irresistible, right? Like, no
Yep.
matter what I'm doing, it's calling to me. I know the book's there. It's calling to me to come back to it and finish. I want to know what happens next. I find it irresistible. And when I have books like that, you know, I love them, right? So then when I see it wrecked in a movie, I mean,
Yep.
this nicest of all possible ways, I'm like, oh, they totally ruined that.
Well, it's
Mm.
like that song, look what they done to my song, Ma. If you remember that old song. And I always think of that too, because so much of it is like you almost wish you didn't see it,
Yeah.
because
I've
it's
had sometimes
tainting
I
the
do
thing.
that. Sometimes I avoid it. Like I won't
Well,
go
and
see it
that's
'cause,
not a
like I don't
bad
want somebody
thing.
to ruin my book for me.
That's right. That's right.
I think a lot
I
of
know, but
times they use books just to get like the meat of the conflict or the meat of the story, right?
that's
Because
right.
people are starving for story. And so someone's
Correct.
written this beautiful book and then a producer or somebody reads it and they're like, "Oh, this kind of conflict in this setting." And we'll just take that and put it in some other movie and call it.
Right. And books can be sprawling and take their time and live in your head, Tony, right? But a film has to do it in this amount of time. You have to hit these points. You sort of in some books, hey, Nero Wolf, see, he's attention seeking. This is what I was saying.
Your
Is
dog's name is Nero Wolf?
Yeah, I love mysteries. And so his name I was going to call him Nero Wolf. My friend suggested it. And I happened to be reading a Nero Wolf at the time, so it was very apropos. But now I'm calling him Nero Wolf, which I'm trademarking. And then I do these, I'm a photographer, so I always do these fake, books of him, the case of the chartreuse candles, dial N for Nero. So it's
I don't
Nero
know.
Wolf.
Do you know who
Yeah.
Tommy John is? Tommy John, he was like a famous baseball pitcher. Do you know who that is?
No, no.
Okay. Well, Tommy John's a very famous baseball player. Played for the Dodgers, played for the New York Yankees for years, and they kind of coined Tommy John surgery after him because he got this surgery on his arm, and it was successful. He came back, he was better than ever. And now baseball players, anytime they're going to get that surgery,
The
even
Tommy
though it's
John
got
surgery.
they call it Tommy John surgery. But he's
Ah.
a very he was huge, very successful baseball player. He's got a dog called Arnold Palmer. And I've never met anybody who had a dog like where they named the dog the full name. I was like somebody else.
I love full names.
I
I
like
had a
that.
cat that I called Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, who was real. I love full names. Yeah, it makes me laugh.
That's so funny.
I know. And then the Nero Wolf thing, because he kind of looks like a wolf, and I wanted him to be some sort of detective or something in the mystery world. And he sort of has Nero Wolf's personality. I don't know if you know the character of
I
Nero Wolf, but
do.
yeah, he's like always like phooey. He always has a little arrogance, to him. And then I realized,
And the
Nero
dog
Wolf,
is arrogant, is he?
yeah, he's really lovable, but like he gets annoyed at the squirrel and then he'll just go, it's always like, confound it. He's Nero Wolf.
Excellent.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah.
So you have to have a favorite moment, right? Of a moment that when you were directing something, you thought it doesn't get any better than this moment I'm living right now. What's that moment?
Yeah, well, that moment is when you just feel like you're doing what you're supposed to do, and in the
Oh no, you're
collaborative.
about to give me a generic answer. Give
You
me a
wanted
real
a very
moment.
I've had so many though. Okay, so if I'm going to bring it to Samantha, it's when we were working on a 4-page monologue from Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike.
Oh,
And I had this idea of breaking the monologue up with her because it's a phone call. And I was like, I want her to sort of pretend that she's going to look up in her date book to see if she's available or not. And instead of which, it's just written where she goes away and then comes back and says, oh yeah, I'm available or something like that. But I wanted her to have this sort of private moment. I love private moments in acting where she puts down the phone, she walks to the other side of the stage, she sort of hits herself because she's reminded of all the dates she didn't have the balls to go on and all the time she was an ass. And to me, it was so, I could cry now just thinking of it. It was so emotional. And then I'm like, she's probably going to hate this. This could be so fake and so shticky. And she just went with it and made it happen. And I was like, oh my God, what I saw is exactly what this woman just did.
Mm.
And I cried every time she did it.
Me too.
I'm crying now. And it's crazy, crazy. You know, and then I directed this sounds bizarre, but it was a musical version of The Diary of Anne Frank. And the whole thing seems preposterous because the comedian in my mind goes, you know, there's so many insert joke here, like we'll have to cut the tap dancing number out because that's why the Nazis come and find. I mean, all of these stupid jokes, but it was one of the most profoundly beautiful things I've ever done in my life. And it was beyond being proud of it. I felt like it was my my raison d'etre of having to make it, having to speak for these souls. And that was another one where I just felt like it, you know, I had this moment of they're all remembering what it was like out of it. And I just kept seeing in my head them coming down stage on their line and how they would go back. And I'm like, I don't know if it can work, but I just made them all do it. And then it landed exactly to the music. It was coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that was a really proud moment.
Well, Broadway, right? All Broadway, I think, you feed off the electricity of the audience, right? It's not quite the same in other genres of your business.
Correct.
I think that there's this unique ability to get energy. I could foresee coming out on the stage, having a really bad day, and then just feeling the energy and being swept up into the energy of the audience to get through and maybe pull an even better performance out of you. So there is something to that, right? To feeding on the energy of the audience, which is it's very unique about that kind of stage work.
Well, you know what it is you're there to serve the audience. Like it has to be the audience's experience. So to me, I always, even when I acted, it was always about that too, and not so much of like I'm desperate to win their approval or get their thing, but I was always wanting to give them a great evening out or give them that Johnny Carson half hour, you know, escape, or Everybody Loves Raymond from the chemotherapy moment or whatever's horrible. It was more about that. So it's like being a good host of a dinner party. You know, how is the air?
Love
Is the
that.
air cool? Is the lighting right? Does everybody have what they need? That's always what I feel. And the problem is sometimes as an actor or a director or a writer, you know, it's all about you and my ego, and this is what I want, and this is the way it has to be. And yeah, it has to come from that place, but ultimately it needs to be, like you just said, Toni, received by these people who are absorbing it. And if there are obstacles to that absorption, or it's not a comfortable room, it's doomed, in my opinion. It shouldn't be a painful experience, even if it's a horrible subject matter. It has to be receivable so that then you can get the emotion and then be devastated by the tragedy or the drama or the uplifting, you know, humanity.
So favorite Broadway show you ever saw? Like you're there.
Okay. Yeah, well, I saw the original Sweeney Todd like 5 times, and that was one of the best things I've ever seen. Every performance in that, and you know, it was I was lucky enough to meet Hal Prince several times because I had mutual friends and I knew his daughter, and would talk to him about it. So like I met a lot of my idols like that, and I thought Hal always he did what I was just talking about. Or Sam was saying I did, which is such a compliment. He set the stage really well. And I don't know that he was an actor's director as much as I feel like I want to be, but he saw the whole thing and knew exactly the tone of how it should be done. And so when I saw that, which was done in a sort of English music hall style, even though it was so dark and macabre, you know, I was inspired by it. You know, and then I saw a show, several matinees that I love matinees where you come in from like a rainy day and then you just live in this world on a Wednesday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon. And it doesn't quite have the glitz or the glamour of you're out on the town. It's sort of like you're just leaving the outside sunny world or rainy day and coming into this world. that's kind of why I wanted to do it, I think.
What about you, Sam? Best Broadway play you've ever seen?
Well, it was weird. I think I saw that. It was the production with Angela Lansbury, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, I think I saw a televised version of it.
Yeah,
and
it is
and
available.
it changed. I mean, I was like, Angela Lansbury in that
Brilliant.
part. I mean,
Yeah.
so believable. And like, you could see the actor work where she was this woman, but for her it was the life she had to live. You know what I mean? Like, she justified it and loved her character, even though she was, this murderous woman or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that the other one I remember is I saw You Can't Take It With You with Jason Robards.
God, I love that.
And that was one of I was very young. I think I was only maybe 10 when I saw it. And it was one of the funniest. All I did was laugh. I couldn't stand that kind of absurd humor where it's like funny and then just crazy, but still like it's real, this family. And then Jason Robards, when he did a curtain call, he bowed and then he winked at me. And I was like,
Ooh.
oh, that must mean something.
He's anointing you.
Yeah. That's right. I was like, I shall be an actor one day, Jason.
I did that play in high school. I went to a performing arts high school, and I was called Yankov, who was the Russian ballet teacher. And my friend's father wrote me this, who was like such a Brooklyn Irish, like never said anything about anything, wrote me this sort of love letter about how I had to keep performing, keep doing this. And I have that letter. It was like, yeah, it's an amazing play, amazing experience. But
it's so funny that we both have the same plays. I did that play too up here somewhere and years ago, and played like the daughter, the normal daughter.
Alice, right?
Yes. So great.
So I'm gonna ruin it for you both, because you guys pick such like major pieces of theater.
Yeah.
What
was yours?
Mine was
I hope it was something that we did, Toni.
Right.
I saw Harry Connick Jr. do The Pajama Game on Broadway.
Oh,
That's my favorite, and I've seen a lot of plays across my lifetime, but that's my favorite one. I love
Kelly O'Hara. Yeah, I love Harry too. With Kelly O'Hara, was she in that with him?
Kelly O'Hara was in it.
Yeah.
She was magnificent. And I mean, he's such a talent. Like, cause he danced in it, he sang in it, he acted in it, he played the piano live in it. And I mean, and I was a big fan of his. I really wanted to go see the show. So with the minute the tickets came out, I was like right on the phone, like, and calling till I could find. I was like, I want to sit. They were already half sold out for most of the shows. You had to be for no. I mean, I want them like right there in front of me. So I held out to like Memorial Day weekend when it's like right on the and everybody else is away, and it's like, okay, I could get a front row seat, like
Yes.
So that's what I went to see, and I'll never forget it. I'm like sitting there. And he comes to the side of the stage right where I am. I remember at one point, and he's doing his number, he's singing. And like, I was so struck by the fact that he was like right in front of me singing the song, and his voice is just beautiful, like right there. And like all I can think of was if I reached out, I could untie his shoe. That's what was in my head, because it's like I felt like his feet were like right there, like I could touch it, just untie that right now if I wanted to. It's just like a weird thing to be.
Yeah, it sure is.
But I remember it, and yeah, I was with a friend who like hit me in the back of the head because I was like while I was watching. She's like, "What are you doing?" Like, I don't know, but he's right there.
You were taken, yeah. I mean, that's fabulous.
And I don't usually, I'm not terribly starstruck, I don't think, by people. I like who I like, so I get excited when I meet somebody that I was like, oh, I loved you in this, so I do get excited to talk about the work. But Harry definitely made me feel starstruck.
Wow. That's great.
So that's my favorite. I think I have this like big musical, and you guys have these really meaty.
Yeah, it's all to me.
I feel inadequate.
Never.
No. Good work is good work, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's in a tiny off-Broadway, nowhere. I mean, when you're moved, you're moved. That's how I feel, you know.
You know,
So what are you
Toni,
working on now? What do
oh,
you say?
I'm going to say this really quick, Toni. This is one reason why I hope you and Michael work together one day, is because just like what you said about untying Harry Connick's shoe, when Michael was directing the web series, it was the first time I was doing anything on film where I felt like I was doing theater. Like the
Mm,
whole set felt like we were in a play together. The technical, the cinematographer, like everybody, it felt like we were in a theater together doing it. And the process was similar. And the difference was everybody was in on the process of the actor, because Michael really gets into actor process and everybody was there to be a part of it. Right, Michael? It really
yeah, that's great. I agree because I've been on a lot of sets, and sets have a way of feeling like a funeral because
yes.
there's no sound and there's darkness except for the light that's on the actor, and everybody has to be quiet, and you always just feel like there's no life,
Yes.
joy on those sets.
Yes.
And especially when you have no time to get camaraderie and you're basically meeting day of the shoot, and somebody's coming in to do their 2 scenes and then they're going to leave. I felt like we had to do that, and we couldn't make it feel like, where's the viewing of the body kind of
Right.
feeling. Where's the
Right.
coffin?
We were like in the middle of shooting and we were about to do another take of something. And Michael's like, let's have a round of applause. And he did a round
Yeah,
of applause for every person on
I went
set.
through every person. Yeah,
Every
yeah, yeah.
person. We all did a round of applause for everybody involved. And there was like 20 people or 30 people
Yeah,
in that place. And
right.
it felt so good. It felt like we were all creating together. And it wasn't just the actors and it wasn't, these
Yeah,
people holding the boom that don't matter. Everybody was in it. And it was so fun.
right. And
I
and it
love
goes
that.
back to like
Yeah.
feeling like a host, wanting everybody to be a part of the party. I think magic happens when you're coming from that place of inclusion and joy to create, as opposed to, oh my God, this is open heart surgery, or I'm
Mhm.
taking the SAT or something. Do you know what I mean?
I want to work with you now.
Yes,
Yes,
Tony, let's
yes.
do it. I'll
Oh my
sing "Hey There, You with the Stars in Your Eyes," and you can
God.
untie my shoes, just like Harry Connick.
I want to untie your shoes and run
Yes,
across the stage.
there we
Yeah.
are.
I have no ability to act. I should preface it with that.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll make you look good.
But I suddenly want to create something with Michael.
Yes, yes, yes. That's the
Yeah,
whole point.
yeah.
Yes.
We just got to keep creating. Don't wait. Create. Right.
That's
If we
and
could take
that's a
anything
great,
from New Jersey,
yes.
Well,
well, there are many things to take, but that's
New
a pretty
Jersey's a
great
unique
line.
place. I like to say if you live in New York and New Jersey, they're like sister states, right?
Mhm.
For people or listeners who don't live in this immediate area, they're very much sister states. Like they're companions, New York and New Jersey.
Hmm.
They sort of hang around. They're very similar. They
Mhm.
appreciate their differences, and you can't tell the difference. It's like no meaningful border, right? Like so when
Correct.
you're like, oh, I have to go shopping. You don't think like, oh, I have to cross the border over to because I want to get something. It's just like it's all like one giant thing, you
It
know?
is. We
That's
all have
right.
we have
Right.
similar references and influences growing up. We all know the Thanksgiving Day parade. We all, the names of
We
stores.
share the Statue of Liberty. Basically,
Yes,
she's
the
facing.
Jersey
Yeah.
Shore. I mean, we
Yep.
all have the same. So,
We all the same.
Yeah.
We understand each other. We all, like you said, there's like a certain slang. And nobody in either state is even remotely interested in what you're doing, right? Like you're on the street, you're running by, you whatever. Even no matter how odd you feel your behavior is, or how odd you feel your look, nobody is looking at you.
Nobody cares.
Like
That's what I
nobody
love the
cares. We're
most.
all in a
Nobody
rush.
cares. Yes.
We're all thinking about where we have to go next, and we tend to not notice the peculiar. I
mm,
think.
I love that.
Yeah, which is sort of a difference, a real meaningful difference from that and being almost any place else.
mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I do think that when you create with somebody that's from this area, I think there's something to that,
Oh,
right? I
yeah.
saw Alec Baldwin on, I think the Tonight Show or something once, and he said the one thing he loved about coming to New York is that he could come out with a movie, and in any other state, they'd be either starstruck or they maybe wouldn't approach him. But only in New York could, like, you get into a cab and the cab driver would turn around and be like, Alec, your last movie, a real dog.
A real turkey. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
feel totally comfortable just like addressing him like that. So I do think there's something to that when you create with people who really aren't afraid to go, no, like that doesn't work for me at all. Like, I don't think that, and I think that's a lot of what you two are saying you bring to it. Like, you are able to just put out into the world your version and then haggle your way to a happy medium that
quickly.
everybody's happy with.
Yeah, and
So
it has to, exactly, Sam. It has to be quick because, and you have to be open to possibilities. It's back to that thing. You know what I mean? It's whatever's going to serve the piece ultimately. And
Right.
sometimes it's not what you thought it would be.
Yeah.
And that's
Sure.
okay. I think things have to breathe and have life to it, and nothing should be so precious. It's a breathing art form, all of it. And the main thing you're trying to do is make it look like life is happening up there. Do you know what I mean? And there's lots of versions to life. A line can be said many ways. A character could be played many ways.
Tell me
As
what
long
you're
as it
working
feels
on
real.
now. Tell me what you're
I'm working on this really great play called Godzilla's Prince with this man, Doc Doherty, and his wife wrote it. She's a very successful screenwriter, playwright. Anna Teresa Casio is her name. And it's basically about his upbringing with a very horrifying monster of a father in Brooklyn. He's a Brooklyn Irish guy. He's 69 years old, and it's basically coming to terms with this Godzilla monster. And it is funny and moving and real, and I just love it. And we've done it a bunch of times, and it's going to come back. So I'm doing that. I have show with Jackie Hoffman. I've been writing with her for 23 years and directing all her solo shows. And she's another muse of mine. We've done videos together, lots of theater. We did an off-Broadway play together. And that thing is called It's Over, Who Has Weed? And it's very funny. It's very funny. And she's brilliant.
So good.
And then, so I've got a few things happening that I'm excited about.
Yes.
You and Sam going to be working together sometime
We
soon?
better be. Yeah.
You better be.
We have to.
Every time we're doing something, while we're doing something, we're like, what's the next thing we're doing?
What are we doing next? Yeah,
we have no patience. None.
No.
None.
Her piece is fabulous. Her, Butterfly Suicide, which we did at the Phoenicia Arts Festival, and it was a big hit. And we're moving that. We're going to try to get into New York City and then wherever else we can do it.
Yeah.
But I want to do that because we want to expand it a bit and give it some cool lighting. I love lighting. I love creating the stage, as Sam said. But I'll do anything with Sam. We could make another little video. We could do anything.
Do anything.
Sam, what are you working on? Sam, what are you working on right now?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What was I working on?
You did a commercial. You just did that.
I shot a commercial. I did that. The Adobe commercial that's been out. Thank goodness during this strike. Thank goodness. And what else?
Best supporting actress in the web series.
Best supporting actress, yes. And I actually had a really interesting experience, Toni, that I was telling Michael about last night that I wanted to share. It was an improv experience.
Tell me.
There's this show called Hip-Prov, and it's an improv show where they hypnotize the audience, and then the audience does an improv show.
Okay.
Like cool. It's probably your worst nightmare, but it was actually an incredible experience. It was so great. And I have so much experience doing improv, but not doing it hypnotized. And so I was hypnotized, and my whole ego, like whatever is left of my ego, was gone. And so whatever, I would be asked a question and I would say an answer, and that was it. And it was brilliant, Toni. It was like magic. And it was a cast of 5 of us, and everybody was just flawless. It was like, no inhibitions, and also brilliant comedy came out of it. And it's on tour.
All improv.
All improv.
So did you start with a premise? Like, there's a premise.
They usually had a premise or a setup, and then then the hypnotist would have us wake up and go do the scene. But it was with, what's his name? I always forget. Colin from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, he's great.
Last name,
We were just talking about him last night.
Yes, I always
And,
forget his
and
last
then
name.
she,
Mockery,
and then
Colin Mockery. Yes.
and his shoelaces were untied at the end of the improv.
Yeah, right, exactly. But he leads the whole thing. So he's from Whose Line Is It Anyway? And so
And
I
so
had a
what's that like? Hypnotized? I mean, you truly have no recollection of that?
No, I remember all of it. It's not like you're a zombie. It just felt like this part of my brain was sort of vibrating. And at some point I was like kind of frozen in a scene. And in my mind, I was like, well, this is interesting. I'm just going to say whatever's in my mouth. That's what my brain kept saying. I'm going to say what's in my mouth. And so, I would be in the scene. He would address me. I'd say whatever was there. There was no thought. It was just coming out. And it was great, and it worked, and it was hilarious, and it was really good. And it was just, it was just further proof of what I say about improv, that we're all born natural to do this. It's our ego that messes us up.
Yeah.
We can all do it. It's a miraculous show. So anyway, I loved it. Really cool.
So tell everybody, both Sam and Michael, where people can find information about either one of you.
That's a good question.
Sam. Tell me. Well, you can call Sam and she'll tell you everything about me. And I'll tell you everything about me.
I mean, do you have you have social media?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram at Michael Schiralli. I have this thing where I don't like having too much information out there, even though you can find out about everything now. You know what I mean? I still have this Brooklyn, Sicilian, Italian mindset of not wanting everything out there. Here's my dog, even though I put pictures of Nero Wolf up and now everybody knows about Nero Wolf. But I don't have I don't have a site, but I'm going to have one. I have the domain. I make short films and stuff, and I'm always putting videos and stuff up.
You can Google Michael. He's everywhere.
Yeah, you can find me. Yeah,
easy.
Yeah. And what about you, Sam?
If you Google me, you'll find Kim Cattrall.
That's right.
That's right. I don't know. I guess IMDb Pro. I'm Samantha Jones, number 10. You can find me there, or HudsonValleyImprov.com.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Because you keep most of your information. Even you're on Facebook, I think. I know Facebook for sure. Which usually you post information about your shows and stuff like that.
That's right. Me too.
So this hour has flown by. Oh my goodness. I feel like I blinked.
This was great, Toni. Yeah, because this is usually not fun. And once again, Sarah, you know what I mean? It usually is like stilted and
right.
I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever going to listen to this or watch this. I don't want to think of that, but I had the best time with you guys. But you know what I mean? It was just more about this connection.
Yes, and I'm so glad with you two meeting. It's like my dream.
Yeah, Samantha's been saying this forever, and Toni, I do feel like I've known you forever now. And anytime I hear any Harry Connick Jr. or
you're gonna think of that. I told you my
think of his shoelaces
about the show.
Yes.
Now you have to get him on your show.
That's right. I was at UB Blake's 100th birthday, and he played.
What would you say?
I was at UB Blake's 100th birthday party years ago, and he was a prodigy for Harry Connick, and Harry was like 7 years old or 8 years old and played at this event when he was a little kid, 10 years old or something. Yeah, Harry's great.
I try to imagine sometimes, like if I actually got the opportunity to interview him, how that would go. You would like to think you wouldn't be like the whole time.
You might be, but I think,
what I mean? Like that you'd actually come to, because I mean, in my mind, I have like a ton of questions, right? About everything he's ever done. Like, oh, I was here for this, and I was here for that, and I was here for that.
You would deliver it. I think he's cool. Did you see what was the show On a Clear Day You Could See Forever? Did you see that revival?
Yeah. And
how gracious was he with, what's her face, the girl in it? Yeah, I can't remember her name. She was in Beautiful and a million things. She's very talented. He gave her all the credit. He's generous, I think.
Yeah. And I interviewed somebody who was in that with him. And you know what? Her name is completely out of my head.
Yeah, me too. It's out of my head too. And she's fabulous.
But she couldn't say enough good things about working with him, and how
Right.
great, how cool he was, how down to earth he was.
That's right.
I feel so
And
bad
so
because
that makes me think.
yeah, she's on the
I
show,
think.
and I'm like, really? No. Tell me
I'm
some
trying to look
horror
it up.
story about him so I can hate him. You know what I mean? Like, and
No,
it's
I
like, no,
remember
it's
she
all
was
good.
on some like TV show and he kept talking about how amazing she is and what a great singer. And clearly they were on this talk show so that he could sing. And then he made her do her solo, you know what I mean? And she kept singing her praises and I know people who know her and she's spectacularly talented and everything. But I always liked him more for that too, that he would do that.
Yeah,
So I think you need
he's
to
one of them.
interview him is my point.
And you could also why don't you write him a part, Toni? In some. There you go.
Yeah, what about that? What about that? That's right.
There's more than
Win-win,
one way to,
baby.
there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yes. Absolutely. That's how you do it.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'll go to work as soon as we hang up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The bulbs are here right now.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I love it.
Thank
Well,
you
this-
so much, Michael and Sam.
Thank
I
you.
love
Thanks for
spending these
having
hours
fun.
with you.
Toni,
Yay.
it's so
So much
nice.
fun. Please
Yeah.
come back. I tell you, Sam, you're always invited. Anytime you're not doing anything, the days I record, you just come on. Just be like,
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
You guys are good together. Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun. Toni just lets me laugh and be crazy and ask crazy
Mhm.
questions.
It's good.
And Michael, anytime, whatever you're doing, if you have a project that's brand new, you want to come back, talk to me about
Wow, I'd love that. Thank you. I
it.
will.
Okay.
What are you doing 10 minutes from now? So we
Yes.
I have something I'd like to talk. My dog is
Nero
Your
will-
dog, we got to meet briefly.
that's right. He's right over here.
I bid Nero adieu.
Yes. Thank you.
It was very nice to meet him.
Thank you, Toni. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to
Thanks,
close
Toni.
the podcast. I'm going to say, I hope everybody's having a great day, and I'll see you next time.